So, hello everybody. Welcome to the 45th discussion of the book club. Today we are discussing Purple Hibiscus. And I just thought, now that we are, moving away from the classics and reading more of contemporary literature, probably we can change the format a bit and maybe focus a little bit, try something different. So I thought we'll have a glimpse of the book and the significance of the book for the first 15-20 minutes. And then probably a 5 to 10 minutes per person to just share their view of the book. And then we can share some quotes and we can wrap up. And I think mostly everyone who's joining us today, I think most of us have finished reading the book. So it would be definitely great to hear from you what you think of the book. And yeah, that'll be a good discussion, I think. So we're going to just see a little bit about the author and specifically this book, the literary style which she uses to write. There's nothing really much to talk about there. And yes, of course, the themes and other, symbols and especially the themes which she touches upon here. So Chimamanda is a Nigerian author. Purple Hibiscus was her debut novel. She was raised in Enugu, she's the fifth out of six children. She had Igbo parents, and she actually made up the name Chimamanda. Her English name, we talk about the names and the christening, and comes in Purple Hibiscus also. So they're supposed to choose an English name. So her English name was actually Amanda. And just to keep that name, but still have that feeling of, her roots, which is why she added it as Chimamanda, so that Amanda remains, but in a different form. Otherwise, her actual name in her Nigerian Igbo name is Adichie. And she was very passionate about reading from a very young age. However, she was given only the books which were written by English authors, so she read a lot of Enid Blyton as a child. And though she enjoyed them, she used to feel this great disconnect between the characters whom she's reading about and who she is. That is when she started discovering the Nigerian authors at the age of about 10. And in her school, she had initially learned Igbo and English, but later she had the choice of not doing Igbo and only doing English. However, she chose to learn her mother tongue till she completed her high school. And so she was very passionate about her culture and uh, her language. And so one little thing, when she discovered Nigerian authors at the age of 10, when we speak about that, one of her major influences was Adichie. And in fact, she's called as Adichie's literary daughter. Um, and I thought she gave a slight nod to him in the first line of Purple Hibiscus. So she says, things started to fall apart at home. And I felt that Things Fall Apart was actually, Adichie's most famous novel. So somewhere I felt, was this her giving a slight nod to him in the first line of Purple Hibiscus? Not sure, just my own thoughts. And so Purple Hibiscus was her debut novel. When she was studying in the US, she started researching and writing this book. She was intensely homesick, and she set this book in her childhood home of Nusuka for the specific, she says it was a way of her overcoming her homesickness by writing about her home. And the book explores post-colonial Nigeria during the military coup, and it examines the cultural conflicts between Christianity and Igbo traditions and how it affects a family. It touches upon the themes of class, gender, race, violence. And when Adichie finished her book, she had sent it to many publishing houses and literary agents who either rejected it or they said that she must change the setting from Africa to America so that it appeals to a broader range of readers, which she didn't want to do. Eventually, she got a literary agent, and again, it took them a long time before they could finally sell it to a small independent publishing house in 2003. And after 1 year after that, it was picked up by Fourth Estate and published in UK. Around this time, it was when it was longlisted for the Booker. And that's, I think, set off the whole process of, Adichie's. Of course, even before that, I think she won a lot of awards for the book. But uh, of course, the Booker also brought it to a more wider audience. And Adichie uses always Igbo and English in her works. There's all the Igbo phrases are shown in italics, and then they are also the English translation is given. She uses a lot of metaphors to trigger her sensory experiences. And for example, we speak about the arrival of a king to challenge colonial and religious leaders in Purple Hibiscus. And that exactly symbolizes that Palm Sunday, the concept of Palm Sunday. And her use of language, where there are certain places where she references things falls apart, things fall apart. Also, that also invokes the memories of, her work, his work to her readers. And she's named one of her characters, her main character, as Kambali. Now, again, Kambali, it's set to, uh, you know, uh, it's from the title of a song by an Igbo musician. And that song is Ibiri Kambiri. So that is where she got that Kambili as the name, and which is mainly just means live and let live. Um, yeah. So when she develops her characters, Adichie often, she exaggerated the attitudes so that it contrasts the differences between how the traditional cultures are and the Western cultures are. And she tries to point out to, failed cultures, particularly those which leave her characters in a limbo between bad options. She creates a character as a very oversimplified archetype of a particular aspect of cultural behavior. And this is more mainly to create as a foil for a more complex character. So sometimes it seems like a very, like in the mother's character in Purple Hibiscus. She feels like she's not strong at all. She doesn't put her foot down. She just keeps quiet to her husband. And I think that creates a kind of a, she tries to do that archetype where she types to simplify the whole aspect as this person has no role and nothing to do. And then that creates, you never expect her to behave in a particular way, which she finally does. And there's a lot of Igbo tradition which we see in Chimamanda's literature. And one of the things which she does is she gives very, very simple, recognizable names for her characters. Like a Muslim character would be just called Muhammad. She also um, invents various names which convey the, usual Igbo traditions or the characters, the traits, personality of the person, etc. So the usual names, Igbo names, are normally never used by her in her with her characters. She never gives them the usual Igbo names because she feels that she wants to show that multi-ethnic, persona to her characters. Also, she does not use English names for the African characters. And even when she does that, it's only to show some negative trait or some negative behavior. And so these are like things across, not it's not just in Purple Hibiscus, but these are things which she does across all her novels. Okay. Again, Adichie draws on, lot of Igbo's oral tradition, of storytelling. Here we have the grandfather who narrates stories to his grandchildren in Purple Hibiscus. So she uses that to present some important facts in the form of some, as if some historical fiction or in a form of some folk tales. And that is how she makes the grandfather share details of how he lost his son over the way to religious fanaticism. Another important thing was that women writers were usually absent in Nigerian literary scene, and female characters were never given much role by the um okay Sorry, Manasvi says she has to leave. No problem, Manasvi. Thanks. So yeah, so this was something which Adichie wanted to do differently. She didn't want to have her characters just be a supporting role for the male characters. And also she didn't want to, usually what used to happen was only uh, m- the characters, the male characters had always had a say in the fiction about any social issues or political issues, about the economic life of the community, etc. However, here all these thoughts and opinions come from a woman's point of view. So all this was actually something very new and introduced by Adichie to Nigerian literature. Her style often focuses on strong women. She adds a very gendered perspective to topics previously explored by other authors, such as colonialism, religion, and power relationships. Adichie often separates characters into social classes to illustrate the social ambiguities and the traditional hierarchies. Okay. And um, so there were the Nigerian scholar Stanley Urdu. He says that Adichie's feminism is a womanist feminism because it goes beyond just the sexist treatment of women and the anti-male bias, etc. Instead, it looks at the struggles, the socio-economic, political, and racial struggles that women face in Nigerian society to survive and to cooperate with men. For example, even in Purple Hibiscus, the character Auntie Ifioma, she embodies a womanist view and she makes all the family members work as a team and with a consensus so that each person's talents are utilized to their highest potential. And she also, the auntie character, talks about socio-political issues. She talks about economic issues. She talks about racism, colonialism, and all the various challenges. So we, for the first time, it is refreshing to hear a women's point of view in Nigerian literature. It's one of the popular reasons why Adichie's writing is so much appreciated. In fact, Purple Hibiscus is considered as one of the most bought, most read, and most pirated book in Nigeria. And in both her written works and in public speaking, Adichie incorporates humor. And she uses a lot of anecdotes and stories, irony and satire to make her point. Uh, so what I'm going to do is, let's just see writing and literary style. So one interesting thing about Adichie's writing is that it's absolutely flawless, completely simple, uh, very approachable language. And even when whatever she writes in Igbo or shares in Igbo is, you feel very normal and natural reading it, especially because she clarifies it in her writing itself and she explains what she says over there. So you never feel like it's you missing out on something or it doesn't feel like you're reading something different. And the characters feel absolutely relatable, even though they are like on the, on the other side of the world. But it feels like these are people whom you've met in your everyday life. All the fanatic characters, all the everyday characters, the children, all of them feel so relatable, like people whom you actually know. And I think that is one of the things which is stands out in her writing style. I'll come back to themes and then I'll just leave. So I just gave a list of themes over here. I think now I'll stop speaking and then maybe we can just have a discussion about the themes with each other. And so Tulika, would you like to go first?
I can just talk about what I thought about the book.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, uh,
What?
Actually, there were a lot of things to like. My favorite bit was the way she talks about about Kambili feels for her father.
Hmm.
That emotion she describes, of course, she's very, very scared, but she also craves his approval. I feel she does that very well. Like when they come back from Nusuka
Mm.
and Jaja is rebelling, she doesn't want him to rebel. I mean, she's like she wants to stop him,
Correct.
even though she wants to be free of it all. So
Yeah.
I that those conflicting emotions, I think she brought it out really well. That she's been so conditioned to seek his approval.
Yeah.
That, so that bit I really really liked, and of course Ifeoma's character, I somehow felt that she herself modeled Amaka on herself because her dad is also a professor, right? So and in her personal life,
Hmm.
she studied in that university. She stayed on the campus.
Correct.
So I feel the like how she's so outspoken and she's such a
Yeah.
feminist
Mm.
as even as a young girl. So I somehow felt that she had, and also the way she has written about Kambili, it really feels like a memoir. It does not feel like fiction. It is so real, so
Mm.
real. Have you heard her TED talk, The Dangers of a Single Story?
Yes.
And
Yes.
somebody said that people in Nigeria beat their family, were abusive fathers. So I can imagine why somebody thought that because the book is so real.
Mm.
It's difficult to believe that. I mean, I'm sure she has seen something like that. It feels like it. If
Mm.
she has imagined it, it's beyond amazing.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
her writing, I felt, was very, very, very real.
Mm.
I like that. And yeah, mostly that. And there is a lot of symbolism. The high walls around their house, the compound, of course, the red hibiscus and the purple hibiscus.
Correct.
That she does that really, really well.
Yeah. That hibiscus thing was really
Yeah,
it was really good. And how the the purple hibiscus, when he brings it here and tries to plant it, it just dies.
yeah, right, right,
uh,
right. I really like that. Yeah.
that was really good. Yeah. Shaman Raoji, would you like to share your views of the book?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you. As a matter of fact, I had defaulted on two discussions.
Mm.
I missed Elif Shafak's books, There Are Rivers in the Sky, and that was White Tiger by Arvind Adiga. Both the books I missed. Though I had defaulted, you accommodated me this time. If you remember, madam, actually, we read this Americana by the same writer,
Yes.
Adichie, three
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So that struck me. If my memory doesn't fail me, Adichie is the only writer who earned the distinction of figuring twice in our RWI.
That's really true.
I have not come across any other writer who has, I searched for it thoroughly, but I no, she earned the distinction.
You're right.
So,
That's true.
uh,
Very true.
yes, that is one. Another thing, I thought actually if I miss this discussion this time, I should be missing the real thread.
Mm.
That's why I took time and I read the book with a lot of interest. I enjoyed it, and I found the book as it progressed. I was drawn to the huge canvas of themes. You have covered so many, and I also found some of them
Mm.
themes that it covered: politics, religion, family value, freedom, silence, violence, and you have a few more. This is what I come across. But
Mm.
of all the themes I see, I felt that it is religion which is central and has overarching influence on the story with the three of its dimensions. If you look at the religion, I found there are three ways, three types. What are you say? There are three dimensions. Let us put one is traditional and local. The other one is colonial and imposed.
Mm.
And the third one is a hybrid of these two. I will elaborate. First one, we have a traditional Igbo religious ritual that
Mm.
were practiced by Papa Nuku, father, grandfather.
Mm.
Very traditionalist in his approach. And the second one, we have the strict religious beliefs molded by Catholic missionaries and practiced by Papa Eugene, father. And the third one is a hybrid of these two extremes, practiced by Auntie Ifioma, maybe I'm incorrectly pronouncing, the university professor, and who happens to be a very loving daughter of her father. She
Mm.
loves them. So it strikes me that the religious beliefs actually molded by Catholic missionaries
Mm.
that were very strictly adhered to by this author Eugene who is a fanatical, as you just said, and uncompromising in his practices. For example, he never allowed a local language Igbo to be spoken in church because he's brought out the missionaries. And his admiration for white priests than more than black priests.
Mm.
And then he was punishing his family members violently for anything which he perishes as sin, sin,
Mm.
like not attending a communion. That is how the book opens. His son doesn't go, so he throws a book on his head. And
Mm.
the small toys or something, they get broken. And additionally, he, for not securing first position, in other words, not being perfect, he actually makes the children suffer for that. And if you go deeper, actually, other instances, when these children stay a longer period of time in his grandfather's house, he takes it as an exception. And the children getting associated with his father, that is Papa Anpu, that also is not acceptable to him. And the tragedy is, even when his wife there is a miscarriage, there also is not happy. And he disowns his father, who follows the traditional Igbo ritual. He never makes him to come to visit his house, or he visits and other things. And this strict, what I feel is these strict adherence or cruel, brutal adherence to these things, they led to the tragic end of the story. That is what I felt.
Mm.
For instance, if you look at him, he's very philanthropic. He gives money, he makes other people to read and things, but they pale into insignificance before the violent acts that he commits in his life and the jealousy he embodies, for that matter. Is the tyrannical rule of the family that I was not able to accommodate. And I attribute this directly to this Catholic missionary upbringing he underwent initially. Maybe he must have passed through all those violent means to get into that religion and other things. This takes me to the other side, Aunt Ifoma. She is very compassionate, other side of religion, if you look at it. A very open-minded Catholic. And she includes songs in her prayers which are forbidden in the other side. And he is close to his father. And she doesn't judge him from the that archaic conventional
Paganism.
native practices he puts into religion. He doesn't judge. And we see, she takes care of him in a small house when he falls sick and dies. Till his death, he takes care of him. Now, the other question that I'm stuck up was how it affected both the children. They saw a religion that was very strict, or practices that were strict. They saw a side of religion that was compassionate, considerate, accommodating, happy. There was a lot of everywhere in that house actually. That is not there at all this side. How it affected them.
Correct.
That is one point. And the story begins with the children. They had an absolute faith in their father, whether imposed or voluntary, I cannot say, but they had an absolute faith in. He was very possessive of the children, and and he was very careful in insulating them from other influences. He never allowed them to pass into others. So they found altogether a new world when they went to their aunt's house.
Mhm.
Even when they went to grandfather, when they came and visited stories and other things. So what I feel is, on one side you have a religion that was very strict, on the other side you have a very kinder version of it. That is what I felt, represented by a Poma, and
Mm.
that is the one thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, now if you look at it, so what effect they had, the religion, two versions of religion on these children, what effect they had.
Mm.
If you look at it, Georgia becomes faithless. He doesn't believe these things, whereas Kambli reaffirms the Catholicism, perhaps without or sans stifling ritual. That's what I felt. I may, and
Correct.
ultimately, then if it is a question of religion, everything I learned, it is there is a question of love in it. It is already there. Love.
Mm.
It is mother's love to save her children from an abusive father, and love of a son to save his mother from an inevitable prison sentence. Love dominates. And they bring a very surprising ending to the story. We just said mother is dormant and idle. No, it's not that she appears to us like that, but inherently she is very strong. She takes the extreme step of eliminating her husband,
Mm.
duly assisted by her housemate. That was a surprise to me. We felt actually she is very docile, submissive, of no significance.
Yeah.
No, she never complains, never says a word at all.
Mm.
Mm, Never allows a situation to go. But this man makes noise and everything. So the surprise ending, what I found was mother killing her husband, wife killing her husband, and son saving his mother from prison sentence because he didn't commit that. He has taken on her load. That means love finally played a game after religion and love. So maybe I tried to put it in it. So religion on one side and love on another. These are the two dominant things, or one and two, or two and one. You can suggest as it is that I found actually
Mm.
dominating features of it. Of course, as you said, the language is beautiful. There is no doubt about it. A very easy language. It doesn't make you to run to the dictionary often. Well, two, three times only I ran. Otherwise, it was very good. And number two, the language very poetic language. Because once you can understand immediately in the first read itself, you enjoy the depth of it. That's what I felt. So you enjoy it actually. And further, there is a last paragraph. Number one. Number two, she has given top 10 favorite books. I don't know whether it is there. In one of the books, she has listed out what are her top 10 books. And
Okay.
luckily, out of those 10 books, we have covered two books, and credit goes to you.
Oh, great. Which one's Shamil?
I put, one is The Bluest Eye, Toni Morrison.
Okay.
We read it, we read it.
Yes.
And another one is 100 Years of Solitude.
Okay. Great.
And those, if you permit me, I'll put it in the chat box. What are our top
Please
10
do.
favorite books?
Yeah.
And for having read, I was really excited to have known that first class, we have already read two of the books. Let me suggest to madam, and there are 8 books
Yeah.
left and
We
which are
should.
her favorite. So that is one good thing I felt. I'm putting it in the chart with just in a
Yeah.
second.
Sure. Please do.
Oh, sure. And one more thing, as well that language is concerned, I found one particular phrase very, very poetic. It
Mm.
almost sounds like Sanskrit. I can be wrong, actually. It is at the last. May
Mm.
I read out that two, three paragraphs?
Please,
Not much. I
please.
will not take much time. So the daughter and mother, or sister and mother, go to prison
Correct.
where Jaja is actually incarcerated. So our Kambli says, quote begins, the liars will get you out next week.
Mm.
The liars will get you out next week. And Jaja shrugs. Even the skin of his neck is covered with the scabs that look dry until he scratches them and the yellowish pus underneath seeps out. Mama has bribed all kinds of ointments in and none seem to work. Then Jaja says, this cell has many interesting characters. He spoons the rice into his mouth as quickly as he can. His cheeks bulge as though he has stuffed them with whole unripe govas. I mean, out of prison, Jaja, not a different cell, sister says. He stops chewing and stares at this is the important paragraph now. He stops chewing and stares at me silently with those eyes that have hardened a little every month he has spent here. Now they look like the bark of a palm tree, unyielding. I even wonder if we ever really had an, this is the phrase, Asusu Anya, Asusu Anya, a
Mm.
language of the eyes. Or if I imagined it all, you will be out of here next week, I say. You are coming home next week. These are the two paragraphs, actually.
Mm.
The heart is the language of the eyes. She
I
doesn't say, but he,
liked the next paragraph also. You can read it out, Shamil Rao.
I
Also,
selected because a lot of taking lot of time. I liked this particular paragraph, actually.
yeah.
And Asusa Anya, it is almost Sanskritized English. It sounds like that. As
Asus.
you said, I was Asusu Anya, actually. I can say Anya means other. That is the thing.
Mm.
Actually. On Asusu Anya. This I like that. This is one thing.
Very nice. Even actually, the next paragraph also, where she
Sir.
says in the last line, he will never think that he did enough, and he will never understand that I do not think he should have done.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Beautiful. No, no, her language is very poetic and precious. Sometimes the way she uses puts her words, which is
Mm.
really good.
Mm.
Really good. So this is what I wanted to say. Maybe
Very nice. Yeah, it's a very beautiful book. And just, to like little bit about the question which you raised, what does it do to children to see,
yes, this is
like
what.
this? So I belong to a household of multiple religions. So in that, um, uh, rather than getting into which religions, I would say like one of the different religions which I was a part of was very close to how her father is. So,
Okay,
so in my head as a child, I would always think, okay, this religion is in this way only. So they are like this. They have this kind of, adherence to these things. They cannot tolerate any other religions. And I used to absolutely hate how it was, you know, and I really find it very different and very difficult to understand that they are like this. And as a child, I remember, I think, so this is how it's always been. So as a child, you don't know that a particular religion you're used to can be something different also. So I think the first time I realized that was maybe when I was 15 or 16 years of age, when I went
yes, ma'am.
to another friend's house who was belonging to the same religion. And then I was
Acha,
like, there they are singing songs. Their way of worship is so different. They dress
acha.
so colorfully, and
Ha,
they keep a bindi. They do things very, very differently than what I have seen, like among the closer relatives in my family. And I was like, okay, so this is also possible. This is also a form of this religion. Until then, I never knew that it can actually be fun. So
ha.
I think, yeah, so many things. I think what we find negative about religion is probably what people bring into it than what that religion actually is, maybe, I guess. Always. Yeah. So, but as a child, it does, put you off particularly. Like
Yes.
here, she understands, I guess, after a point of time that, okay, there is another way in which I can approach this religion. So that's what she does,
Ha,
Kambali, once she grows up. And I think Jaja seems to have completely sworn off religion itself.
ha.
Yeah.
It was almost a non-believer.
Yeah. So for me, in my
Mm.
immediate household, since there was nobody in that religion, these are only relatives. So it doesn't make a difference. I am not immediately affected. So it's only a matter of a week or 2 or 10 days in a year that I am exposed to it. So it's still
Uh,
okay. And you can just like those 10 days just put up with that nonsense and then leave it off.
leave it out. There.
Yeah, so you're not so affected. But if you're going to be in that house, I think it's really very, very difficult. And
It,
he was so false, the father, that he's not able to provide for his own father, but he is doing all kinds
but
of things for people everywhere around him.
that is the thing.
Yeah,
It could be at the call of the religion. It could, the
yeah,
way he understands religion. This, that
yeah,
is why he does it for society.
yeah. So
And
that
if
is
you
something.
remember
So
this,
that means that only those who belong to that religion are the only ones he would help, right? That is what it
ha,
comes to. So then what is the meaning? So,
religion the way he follows.
uh,
That's all.
that's what. So it's a,
Not in the traditional, the rituals, the singing and prayers, and no, he will not appreciate, accept those things.
correct, correct.
And that these two children are queer when they visit aunt's house. That what is that lady? Amakar, her cousin says, "How come these two children are different?
Yeah,
That means they don't fit into normal upbringing in a, what I call a
yeah,
compassionate, loving society. They are
right.
little out of the way. Those two kids."
Mm,
And father doesn't realize, though mother realizes she can't do anything. And she does everything at the end. And
yeah,
it is the final judgment, final decision, final disposal.
yeah.
She
But
does it.
I was very angry with the mother, in fact. So, like, she could do so much for a child which was not born, but she didn't feel enough to do for her children in front of her eyes.
Because
All those
she's
how she
afraid actually
tried.
of her
She's afraid,
husband.
I agree.
Oh,
But still.
she never raises her voice. That
Mm,
is the point. Never speaks out her mind.
yeah,
Not only with her husband, even with the children also. So silently, so suppressed, so stifling an atmosphere.
correct.
It really
Yeah. And okay, I think I hogged the conversation a lot. I'll pass it
I'm
on.
sorry. I also took time.
Oh, no, not at all.
I
Uh,
have posted those 10
so
books for your
my mother
perusal.
has also joined us today. So
Let her
she has
kindly, kindly.
also finished the book. Would you like to share something, Mom? Um, I'm gonna ask her to unmute. Let me see. I'm not sure she will. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, please.
I enjoyed the book a lot, Archana.
Okay.
And for 2 days after finishing the book, I was in a state of zombie only. Was
Okay.
going through it a lot. And I shared it with my friends, college friends, and who read a lot. And I told them, please read it. And I am still seeing so many religious fanatics like this.
Hmm.
So I think all that is true.
Yeah. True, true,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah.
True. And so many characters are still like that.
Mm,
Though they are educated, all that has not changed. Society is still the same. It's
correct.
Africa, India, or
Yeah.
Tamil Nadu, where it is. So
Yeah.
it was like a personal for me. I
Yeah.
loved the book.
Right, right.
Thanks to you, I was able to read it.
Oh, come on. And I think also could it be that, people who are converted, that do they become more fanatical than the people who are actually there in the religion always? I what
Yeah, that's really true.
That is true. Actually, people who are convert, they just want to prove that they are all in and all, I mean, into
yeah,
it. So
correct.
they become more fanatics. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah, even I feel that
Yeah,
I think that is something that is there, when they are
yeah.
yeah,
They just have to prove that we have completely embraced the whole thing. Like we have gone all out.
yeah,
And to prove that, he literally disregarded his own father. I mean, you just think about it.
yeah.
That's
Also
the thing.
completely broke, I think, the confidence of
Ha.
the children also, the family,
Yeah,
joy, everything of the kids.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, for them, religion is everything.
yeah,
No father, no mother, no husband, no children.
yeah,
It's still going on in our society.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
Mm.
Because I think he could become what he is socially because of the religion, because his father was a poor man. So these missionaries, they kind of adopted him and they made him study and
Mm,
go, I mean, step above the ladder, in the social ladder. He could go up because of his education and all that.
mm.
So he kind of became literally this thing to it. That is the whole.
That's what. Maybe that kind of recognition he got in
Ha.
society through them. So he has to keep proving, he feels at least that he has to keep
Huh,
proving.
he feels so I mean the obligation is so much that he is kind of totally blind to everything else. That
Right.
is
It is, yeah. It's a very strong, narrative, I think.
yeah.
Also, it's interesting how Ifeoma doesn't turn that way. They both convert, right?
Correct. Very true. Yeah.
That is a very interesting thing that he takes that path and she takes a kind of easier kind
Right.
of relationship with religion.
Correct. But Tulika, maybe like what Suchi is saying, maybe that is why she does not have that kind of, anyway, she's a woman also, so she cannot
I think that is the
have,
crucial thing that she's a
yeah,
woman.
woman also.
True.
But even otherwise, I think if someone is more loose, maybe they wouldn't have got that kind of recognition in society and all
True.
that. If you
Yeah.
are, unless and until you prove that you're equal to them in the way you dress, talk, and everything, right? So that's what he keeps on trying to do. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah. It's sad, but it's a difficult read, but it is a very engaging read, actually. It's very difficult to put the book down, I think.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
never felt bored or like I'm done or let me take a break. No, you just
Huh. No, you could read it continuously. That is another beautiful thing. Like you were, I mean, I read it in one go. That is the thing.
Yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
Suchi. Me
Uh,
the same. I was reading another book and then I just started this. I had started it, I think, on April 1st or 2nd, I started it. And I think it's just 1 day or 2 days. In one go, I could just finish this.
Yeah.
So it's a very engaging read. Yeah.
And after that, you can't read anything else. That is another problem. Then you are kind of stuck.
Very, very true. I have not read anything after that. I'm still waiting to, what do I read next? Very true. Yeah.
There's such a there's like a haunting fear running through the whole book. I really like, I mean, the way she builds that, because like the really cruel instances are few.
Hmm.
She never dwells on them. It's like not pages on pages of how he throws boiling water,
Yeah.
but little things like how they talk with their eyes, and then you hear him coming up the steps, and the tension is building,
Correct.
and then when she's there with her aunt and they have to go to America, and you start worrying, oh my God, now she'll have to go home. So
Oh.
there's that constant fear, that tense,
Mm.
that way it's very intense because you're constantly in that fear along with Kambili.
Yeah.
He does that build up really well.
Very true. Very, very true. And also, I felt, I don't know if it was me, but there was that underlying sense of hope also, which was there. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So slightly you felt like, yeah, things are going to get better. Things will get better. Like a kind of a hope was there in that book. It didn't make you feel like complete despair. But of course, those incidents which she had written also, she went, I felt, all the way in when she described it and everything. That was also felt. It was like you couldn't control like the tears just flowing down your
It's
eyes.
very short. Like even when he does the water, he pours the water and then there's nothing, and then she hears her voice. Then
Yeah,
there's the scream.
that's
There is
so
that.
yeah.
Oh my God, it is
Yeah.
so interesting. The way she doesn't give a very, beat by beat description of what happens.
Correct.
Action happens and there's the aftermath.
Yeah.
It is
So,
so,
One
that's so
very
impactful.
good. One more. No, 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 no. Thank you, Stella.
my mother's. Okay. So, Suchi, would you like to add your views, please?
No, no, no. It's fine. It's been covered very nicely by Tulika and Shamal Raoji. Only thing I think I was just remembering that other book which we have read because of the young priest,
Mhm.
that Thornbirds kind of,
Yeah.
the romantic angle in this
Yeah.
also was there, no, something.
Correct.
Yeah, that is.
And yeah, that was right. Very, very true. That also had that romance and
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
And this was just a crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was so much more intense.
But it was very beautifully and very sweetly done.
Sweet. Yeah, it was very, very sweetly done.
I think, Tulika, now I will write a letter to Chimam that kindly write part 2.
No. That will just mess it up, I feel. I think they left it at a very nice place.
Yeah.
She should be her own person. She shouldn't have an amadi pamadi anybody. I just want her to like
Oh,
find her own self. That
yeah.
part. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice read. It was I'm glad we chose this time.
Really. It was very nice.
Would anybody else like to share anything? I think Sarat is there, but I think Sarat has not read the book. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not read.
Yeah. You want to share anything about any of what we spoke?
No, not really.
Okay. Then I had some.
Archana, I wanted to say something.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Because I haven't, sorry, I
I
haven't.
hadn't read the book. I couldn't see your name here in my screen.
Oh, really?
Thought maybe you left. Here you are. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't read this particular book, but I have read, like I said, Americana and some of her stories, and I've listened to her TED Talks and
Yes.
read all her smaller books, about the being feminist and also the book she wrote in the pandemic. I think her father died. She wrote notes on grief or something like that. It's a
Yeah,
tiny
right.
book. So I've read a lot of stuff written by her, and I see these themes that you have listed do keep recurring. And I think the first fiction, most people say it's kind of autobiographical for most authors. Though when I read Americana, and I didn't know which book it was in the order of her literary output, that was also very autobiographical because she also went to the US as a 19-year-old and
Right.
studied at Princeton or somewhere. So that book I thought was autobiographical. But now again, when you are talking about this book, the part about the father being a professor, I saw that theme also in the short story collection.
Okay.
So, and I think even in Americana, there is a part in which there is this, like this lady, I don't know who it was with respect to the main character, but who gets like extremely religious and extremely fanatical about it. So I think the themes of religion, of um, class, of education and its impact, yet still being drawn to
Hmm.
certain old ways of doing things. I think there's usually like this older woman character who is sort of a savior to the protagonist. Savior, or as in someone who shows a different way of being compared to what so I think a lot of her themes are kind of
Hmm.
recurring, but that doesn't diminish from her output. And I think her writing is very tight and very neat, like you said, flawless. And even her nonfiction, right? Like when she talks about everybody should be a feminist, her argument is just so watertight. It's like you have to go along with what she's saying because she does both the anecdotes as well as the philosophy or the principle behind it. I even heard her being interviewed on I think some radio show. I think when she won the Orange Prize.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and I think this was just after she had a child. And until then, she had been this quite public persona, right? As a young person, she would wear that headgear and show up. She's a pretty woman, speaks very well, is very well recognized. It doesn't make any doesn't apologize for her culture and all that, right? Especially in the Western world. And they asked her about being a mother, and so much is written about motherhood. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but again, she managed to say something unique and deep, as well as very, through an anecdote, very, very practical. And I thought she's a very smart young woman. And also, yeah, is able to put her point across very well, no matter whether she writes fiction or she writes non-fiction. So yeah, she's a treasure, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So true, very true. I
I
mean,
like that. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I meant all her talks are very engaging. That's what I was, yeah.
I like that she's such a feminist, but she's so unapologetically feminine. She's so flamboyant in her femininity. And if you've read that book where she says that dear Ajiwala, where she writes this note, and she
Yeah,
says
yeah,
if
Her
Mm.
niece, yeah, to her
your
niece.
daughter likes pink, let her wear pink. That's not feminism. Like, let her wear makeup. It's basically about, she explains that whole concept of feminism so well, and she embodies it. The way she looks, the way she conducts herself.
Mm.
I really like it. Like, she's all out. Like,
Yeah. So she
love.
also dresses like that, no? She dresses in a very beautiful, flamboyant, and that doesn't mean that
She's
you're
not
not a
Bollywood.
feminist. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
That's what I love about her. She's such a, so inspirational. I tell my daughter, like, this is what true feminism is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. So I have some quotes here, and if any of you have some other quotes you'd like to share, also please do. This one I absolutely loved. That's why I put it in the first. So there are people, she once wrote, who think that we cannot rule ourselves because the few times we tried, we failed. As if all the others who rule themselves today got it right the first time. It is like telling a crawling baby who tries to walk and then falls back on his buttocks to stay there. As if the adults walking past him did not all crawl once. It's so beautifully, I,
Yeah, it's very nice. I had also noticed this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, we did that often, asking each other questions whose answers we already knew. Perhaps it was so that we would not ask the other questions, the ones whose answers we did not want to know. I meant to say, I'm sorry, Papa broke your figurines. But the words that came out were, I'm sorry, your figurines broke. And I thought that was also such a, with a small sentence, she said so much. Blame. It's like as if the figurines broke by themselves. She couldn't even say that it's Papa who did it.
That's true. When we were in school and we did something, we don't say my pencil broke, say I broke my pencil. Like the nuns would tell us that's how you should say because you need to take responsibility for what you. So
Wow.
that is like so nicely put here.
Do you try to treat cancer source or the cancer itself? We cannot afford to give pocket money to our children. We cannot afford to eat meat. We cannot afford bread. So your child steals and you turn to him in surprise. You must try to heal the cancer because the source will keep coming back. So this was about, I think, when the university had the thing. So this quote was mentioned about when, that they rioted, when they did this, they broke the property and all that stuff. And then the university also shuts down. So obviously, when you don't give the child something, so it's going to steal. So that is, you're surprised about the child stealing, not that the fact that you don't not given them the thing. So I think that's also very, very beautifully put. So one day I said to them, where is the God you worship? They said he was like that he was in the sky. I asked then, who is the person that was killed? The person that hangs on the wood outside the mission. They said he was the son, but that the son and the father are equal. It was then that I knew that the white man was mad. The father and son are equal. Tufia, do you not see?
That's a good one.
This is also very well done. Silence hangs over us, but it is a different kind of silence, one that lets me breathe. I have nightmares about the other kind, the silence of when Papa was alive. Eugene has to stop doing God's job. God is big enough to do his own job. If God will judge our father for choosing to follow the way of our ancestors, then let God do the judging, not Eugene. Again, that was also, I think, very well put. I cannot control even the dreams that I have made. Sometimes life begins when the marriage ends. This is what she says to her sister-in-law. And I thought that was also, she actually tells her many times that it's time for you to leave. I was stained by failure. This also was like, when I read it for the first time, it was like, wow. So this was when she scores the second mark in the class. And that kind of fear the child goes through and how things. So I was stained by failure. I was like, my God, wow. Again, being defiant can be a good thing sometimes. Auntie Fioma says, Fioma. Defiance is like marijuana. So it is not a bad thing when it is used right. The educated ones leave, the ones with the potential to right the wrongs. They leave the weak behind. The tyrants continue to reign because the weak cannot resist. Do you not see that it is a cycle? Who will break that cycle? That's all I have.
There's one more quote where Kambili talks about Ifeoma's the way she is bringing up her children. I don't know, but I marked it out. It was what Auntie Ifeoma did to my cousins. I realized then setting higher and higher jumps for them. Do you remember this one? In the way she talked to them, in what she expected of them. She did it all the time, believing they would scale the rod, and they did. It was different for Jaja and me. We did not scale the rod because we believed we could. We scaled it because we were terrified that we couldn't.
Yeah,
That
correct.
I have to mention her parenting style was so good. Even when Amaka is taunting her and she's not replying, she doesn't shout at Amaka directly. She
Yeah,
Kambili, open your mouth or something like that. She says, no, say
yeah.
something.
Yeah, she will tell her, come on, you stand up for yourself, fight.
Yeah,
Tell her
she
something.
doesn't fight for her. I mean, of
Yeah,
course, she scolds Amaka a little bit,
yeah,
but she wants Kambili to stand up for herself. That I
yeah.
think was so good.
Yeah. And as soon as Kambili stands up for herself, the cousin is also so sweet, I felt. She actually immediately, says, oh, okay, you can speak. You are
Yeah,
allowed to speak, So
that is very nice.
I thought, yeah. So actually, her character is also very sweet, though she's not able to, sometimes she does get wild with Kambali and all that. But I
Yeah,
thought her character was also so beautiful.
but you could see where she's coming from. No, she thinks this is privileged child who
Yeah,
doesn't know how to do housework. So obviously she's annoyed at her.
yeah.
You
But the minute she realizes
right.
what is happening in her family, the
Hmm.
whole, I mean, she kind of empathizes with her in a
Yeah.
real nice way. The whole, this thing is changed.
Correct, correct.
And
Yes.
there were some little things. There's one place where she says, Amaka says to Kambili, "You are funny," and then she introspects, "Oh, I'm funny," and she stores this away in her head that this is something I'm going to examine later on, and like,
Uh,
that I really like. And there's one more. She says, "There's." She understands fear. Fear, I understand, and it's a familiar. I forget the quote exactly, but she says it's a familiar feeling, but it's different every time. Like every time she feels it, there's a different form to it. I forget the exact quote.
hmm.
But the way she describes what Kambili is thinking and feeling, that is so insightful. I
Right.
always feel she articulates what I'm feeling, but I cannot articulate. She does it for me, for the reader, whoever the reader is.
Right. Very, very, very beautifully done. And I remember that quote which you are saying also. That was also where she tells her, right? The that whole instance of that incident was that whole thing was written. Or I think something has to do with Chimanmanda's writing of it also, I think. And considering that these are themes which are repeated, maybe her own personal experiences could be a part of it somewhere, maybe.
Really seems like it's so
Yeah.
real that it's difficult to think that she kind of came up with the whole thing
Mm.
without being rooted in reality somewhere.
Yeah, correct. Also, that whole in that university thing was also felt very, 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 that is a true thing, by the way. That whole thing of that newspaper person getting murdered.
Okay. Hmm.
So all that I read, I didn't go too much into the detail of it, but the military coup was, so there was initially the military coup was there. Then another military thing came and they took over the military coup again. There were like two, three coup military. Yeah.
Between the north and the south,
Yeah.
north Nigeria, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and then also Igbo people were basically targeted, and that was also there, which was happening. So they had to flee the place and they had to go to a different. Either some of them, whoever could, they went to US. Then others went to a different place in Africa itself, and they kind of settled down there. So all those incidents were true. So which is another very important part of her books. So some of these things, like when you read, you just think it's a character, so for us it doesn't really, we don't know who it is.
Hmm.
But those who know the Nigerian politics probably know more about it, that I was actually this kind of a person, newspaper person, who was actually killed for reporting
Hmm.
on a particular incident. So I think, yeah, so it's a very good read which we had this time.
Hmm. True.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any fault with it. Literally, it was so perfectly written.
True, true. Yeah. And so the next book which we are reading, um,
Short stories.
yeah, it's a collection of short stories, and I think it'll be another interesting thing to do, which I think we've not done it for quite some time now, right? We've not read any collection of short stories, I think,
Hmm.
sometimes. So this, it's called Heart Lamp by Banu Mustaq. And these are actually stories which I heard is written from 1993 or something. It's written over a period of 15-20 years.
Oh, okay.
And they've been translated now. And the book is, I think, releasing on 15th April, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's not available yet. We have to
Yeah.
pre-order and all that. I
The order
checked it
is.
in. Yeah.
So the pre-order is going on. So what we can probably do is, so 15th, if the book is releasing, then I think we can have our discussion around May 15th. Would that be comfortable for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
So around that week. So May 15th is Thursday, 16th we can have it. 16th is a Friday.
Yeah.
Have it around 16th. Yeah. So, okay then. Does anyone want to share anything else? Okay. Fine, I'll stop recording.